Hi, this is the very first tutorial for Ableton Live 9. Perhaps a bit of a waste of time as Ableton Live 10 is about to come out in a week, but here we are, getting to know Ableton. So in this basic tutorial for getting to know Ableton, what we really want to know is what happens when you turn Ableton Live 9 on, and what are the parts of it, and how do we familiarize ourselves. So here I'm just going to launch it and go with what we get here. It comes on up, and this is generally what you see when you launch Ableton. This is an untitled one. Sometimes if you launch it the first time, you will get their demo live set, which is very exciting, but this is what you would get if you then closed that and just opened another one. So this is the basic layout of Ableton Live. Over here on our left, we have the browser. And down here, this is a little, the info viewer. If you scroll over anything, this will tell you what it is. So if you come over here and say, this is the track activator, and there it says it down there. This is how you turn the track on and off, etc. So just keep your eye on this, and it'll give you a lot of information about anything that you're trying to do. Right here in the middle, we have our tracks, and right now we're in what is called session view. The tracks, you'll notice, look very much like the columns on a mixer, and that's not accidental. That's the way it works. And normally up here what you do is you put in clips, and they can play one at a time in a vertical stack. One at a time vertically. You can play many horizontally. Horizontally, this is known as a scene, and you can use the master over here to trigger an entire scene. We'll get to that later, but just to give you a basic idea of what session view is all about. The other view is called arrangement view. It's the more typical view for a digital audio workstation, and it lays everything out horizontally, but it's really the same thing. All your musical notes or recordings go here, and this is essentially the track control and the instrument. And when you put an instrument here, it comes up down here. And to switch back and forth, and by the way, just hit the tab key and it'll always go back and forth. Worth noting that this little thing here lets you know when, excuse me, the one view is not synchronized with the other. And by pressing it, then you can sort of synchronize the two views as much as they need to be so that they can operate. But we'll run into that later too. Moving on here, we have, over here is the help viewer. And this gives you lots of information, including a tour of live, which means that they can give you tutorials for how to do all these things. And a lot of these are really helpful. I use them all the time. You will use them all the time. And another thing that can come up over here is the file manager. Now, interestingly, I'll get to this down here in a second. You'll notice that there are all these little triangles in Ableton for getting rid of windows so you can get more space. Like watch, I'll click this one, and now we have a lot more room for our track, the view of our tracks, whether it be session or arrangement, right? So this can go down and come back up. And then over here you'll notice we can do that again, and it'll get rid of the little info viewer. And you can go up to this one over here and get rid of your file browser. So you can get a lot more room to be able to work. Interestingly, the only one that doesn't do that, and I don't know why it is the help window. To get rid of the help window, you just have to click this X, and it goes away, and there's no way to get it back. No, there is. You come up here to the view, and you hit help view. And there it is, it comes right back. Just while we're up there, you can also notice that you can get the file manager here as well. And file management will tell you where all your stuff is. that is associated with this open file. So that is the basics of the layout here. Now, up along the top, you have your beats per minute. You have, this is called transport, which is play, stop, and record, and things like that. But this is really for arrangement view. So you'll see this running when the arrangement view is running, not necessarily only when the session view is running. This is controls for looping, punch in, punch out, things like that. And over here is, I guess I would call it mostly MIDI control, another thing that we'll get to later. Mostly we're just going to find our way around this thing right now. So one of the first things to do when you open up Live is to open up your preferences and get it set up to work. So on a Macintosh, we hit Command, comma, and our preferences pops right up. You can also go right up here to Live and hit Preferences. If you're on a PC, it will probably tell you right here how to access your preferences. On a Macintosh, preferences are always Command, comma in every program. So here's our preferences, and I'm gonna, oh, you can't make them bigger, they just are the way they are. And you know, the things that are important in here, look, feel, maybe not so much. I'm just trying to see if there's anything here we want to play with. No. Audio. Audio is important. If you're on a Macintosh, you're probably going to want to select Core Audio. If you're just learning this, probably Core Audio. If you have an input-output device, an audio interface, as they might call it, you would probably want to select that. So first we select our driver. On a Macintosh, at least for the simple beginnings, we're going to select Core Audio. And then if you have a device, you would be selecting the device. In this case, we're going to, I'm a little worried to do it, but I'll do it anyway. Select the built-in microphone, which is the one that I'm using. And if you weren't making a screen movie as I am right now, you would then pick your device and decide what you're going to use to get your audio in. In my case, I can't choose my microphone because I'm using it. And actually, I just did this 1 second ago, and it stopped recording. So I'm going to leave this on no device. I don't need an input right now, but this is where you would select it. And the built-in output, of course, is what we're going to select for built-in out. I've got a couple other things that I could use with my computer, but built-in output is fine. You're going to want it to be at 48,000. That's the industry standard for working with sound. 41,000 is what is on a CD, but of course you want to edit it a little higher quality and then knock it down a little bit when you put it on the CD. 512 sample buffer size is fine unless you have some sort of problem, and the rest of this is all very advanced. So, and then going down through the tabs here, this is where we have our MIDI control. We're not dealing with that yet today. This is where we have our various files that Ableton accesses. Again, not dealing with that today. Our library, however, is something that we will deal with today. I like to have my library located in some place where I can get at, and that, for me, is on my Google Drive. So go relocate your library to somewhere that is convenient for you, perhaps even an external drive to the computer that you're using. Let's say you're using a school computer or something like that. And so I take my Google Drive Excuse me, sorry about the throat. And I'm putting it right over here. I've got a little folder called Ableton Live, and here's my user library, and that is what, you might not have this already. You could make a folder called Ableton Live and then select it, and then it will put your user library there, okay? And then with our other things here, I think there's nothing too much to worry about. So I think we're all set up now to actually use Live. And there's only one other thing I wanted to do before we finished here. We're not really going to start making music, just really kind of get set up to do it. And that is, if you're making music from files that you have on your computer, it's nice if you can access them over here. And you could do that in a couple different places. If you look closely over here, you have a user library. And so that was the user library I just showed you, and where I have clips, defaults, export files, grooves, presets, and samples. But maybe you've just downloaded a whole bunch of sounds and you just want to be able to get to them. In which case, you can just come down here and say, add a folder, and you get this little pop-up thing, and I will go to our class folder, which I have on my Google Drive in a different place, and I'll go get group 1 sounds, just as an example. So here's all these recorded sounds, and I'm just going to import group 1 sounds. I open them, and lo and behold, right down here now, I have all of group 1 sounds. There they are. And so as kind of a next thing, I suppose, before we get started here, I'm just going to grab, these aren't particularly definitive. Let's grab laugh here, because we can be pretty sure what it'll sound like. So this down here is sort of the, what do you call it, the preview. The preview of what it's going to sound like. So that's playing that over and over. I'm going to turn it off here. And then just point out these things here. So this is a MIDI channel. No good for what we're doing right now. So I'm actually going to Control-click on it and just delete it. Likewise with this one. And what we're going to do is use audio channels here. And we're going to take this laugh, or whatever sound file you happen to have, and move it over here, drag it over to there. And now that wave form, that sound file, is loaded in here, and when you click right here, it will play it. Oh, very nice. So I'm just going to, it is up. So, and it's playing it around and around and again. And how can we, well, first, how can we stop it? We can click in any box and it will stop after it reaches 1 bar. So, there we go, and it's stopped. When we're running more than 1 clip, we can come over here. This is the Stop All Clips button, and click here. And so if we had multiple clips running, we could stop there. But let's highlight this again and then take note of something else. Down here is where we would put audio effects to run that sound through. And this is where it would go. But this is actually like a sort of tabbed thing. So this actually shows the clip itself. And you'll notice that when we hit go, this is coming across here and playing those things. And because loop is selected here, it just keeps going around and around and around. So if I turn this off, I imagine it'll go to the end and stop. So there you go. This is the clip, and its clip automation, I guess you would call it. And then just one more thing of note, and that is, like the little triangles that were around here that allowed you to close and open windows, sometimes you'll see these black circles and yellow circles, and they're for extra windows that you can open as well. So in this case, L, I imagine, was for launch, and E for envelopes, and this is for the sample. So you can get rid of the sample, you can get rid of the envelopes, you can get rid of the launch, and there it is, just the clip by itself. If you need that space, if you need to work in any of those windows, that's how you get to them. The same thing holds true for the controls at the bottom of each track. This is the track delay, and the this allows you to group things. I'm not sure what X would stand for, but this allows you to group things into A bus and B bus and things like that, so that you can control them together. This manages the input-output, and there it is. And likewise, the reverb, the delay. Oops, sorry. What is that? Oh, the sends. Sends, reverb, and delay. This is probably, yeah. So there you go. But you can control all those things and get them out of your way if you want to. Anyway, that should do it for getting around Macs, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.